What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to Baseball as Intended, episode 13. I'm your host, Yeyo, alongside my good friend, Jon. And we have a good episode today. This is the first full week of baseball. We haven't seen you since opening day, but there's a lot that has been going on, especially the last couple of days. We're going to be talking about Cruz. O'Neill Cruz had a little bit of an injury, a little bit of a scuffle there. Pirates and White Sox, but, maybe a World Series preview. Anyways, Rays off to a historic start. We're going to be talking about the Rays and talking about historic starts. We're going to talk about the players that are off to great starts. Anthony Rendon as well. There was a little situation off field or with a fan. He was back today. So we're going to be talking and share our thoughts with you guys about that situation, which a little bit of a interesting one, if you will. But before we get started, Jon, we're in the leadoff section. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's Easter Sunday right now. We're filming. Happy Easter to you. Happy to everyone if you celebrate. And like you said, we had the big leadoff. We were talking during the offseason. We were talking about the WBC, which was awesome. Opening day, there's so much. We were talking about what we want to focus on. And it's just every day there's new things to talk about. You could really go in either direction, and you kind of forget about that. The regular season, there's so many games going on, and a lot of significant things have already happened. I'm fired up to talk about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things, some bad things. There's some injuries. One of them was, which we don't have it on our lineup, but you as a Mets fan, right before opening day, Verlander was, moved to the IL. There was some news that he's not going to be coming back until at least the end of the month. So that's another couple of weeks. We talked about the Mets and the age. That was kind of like a risk, right? When you have 38, 40-year-old pitchers. But, there's still a lot of good things happening. There's still a lot of good baseball being played. Some surprises, some kind of like the usual suspects there. But yeah, I think the one we have to start off with today was the O'Neill Cruz. And I think it's because it's one of those topics that we've talked about in the past. There were some rule change, the Buster Posey rule change of catchers. You can not run over the catcher or anything like that. So we're going to show you the clip because, if you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't seen it, you're going to be able to see it. We're going to talk about our thoughts with this situation. Obviously, yes. O'Neill Cruz, play at the plate. We're about to see it. And you can tell how awkwardly he landed. He was kind of like about to dive. He didn't really ran over the catcher, but you definitely could see that he was in pain, right? And he's laying down. He's gonna be laying down on the ground. Let me go ahead and show you the video here. But you can see how he's in pain. He's not feeling great immediately. You can see how Carlos Santana is going because you see the catcher saying something to O'Neill Cruz. Carlos Santana is coming out as a veteran guy defending his boy, his future star, right, for the Pirates. And there was a little scuffle broke out there as O'Neill Cruz is laying there, which at first I was like, just don't step on the guy, right? Don't kick the guy while he's down.
They stayed away.
Yeah,
they stayed away.
Classic baseball brawl fight, right? Like a lot of pushing and shoving. Not much happened. But, what is your initial thought? And we're about to see the replay. Obviously, right there, we saw Michael Kopech being very upset, who's the pitcher at the time. But what was your initial thought? And we can see the replay
watch
now.
It right here. He throws his hands up a little bit here, and he does dive in late. Now, with that being said, I understand. So this gets skewed a little bit when you think about it because he broke his ankle, and that sucks, right? Nobody wants that. If we're forgetting about that, I do see why the catcher was upset. Because if you look at it, he's coming. He kind of throws his hands up. I don't know if the catcher thought he's trying to get in the way of the ball. His helmet was off. Maybe he's like, hope I don't get hit. And then he gets caught in no man's land, and he does dive into the plate really, really late. So you see the catcher get upset, and I get it. I don't even know, as obvious as it was to us, that he knew that Cruz had broken his ankle right then, because that was pretty bang, bang. It's so unfortunate. I don't think there were any bad intentions on anyone's part, but I think, unfortunately, O'Neill Cruz kind of went in late there. And, I mean, he caught himself in an awkward position. When you look at the replay, and we'll see it here, I don't even know that it's contact with the catcher. His left ankle just kind of gets caught under his body. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I hate to see that. And it's not blaming him. I think if this is a car accident, you say, you're a little bit at fault here. I hate that it happened. Wish him a speedy recovery because, man, he's so exciting. But I think he kind of put himself in a tough spot there.
Yeah, and I think like my initial thought, if I'm the catcher, I'm upset because there's a rule to protect me. And you can see how the catcher's legs were kind of caught up as well because he was
Right.
caught in no man's land, kind of like the Nemo slide in spring training, which he ended up, hurting his ankle. I think that's exactly what happened. I also understand Carlos Santana because even though we think that maybe Zavala, the catcher, didn't know O'Neal Cruz was hurt, if I'm Carlos Santana, my guy is hurt. I'm coming and say like, why are you talking to my guy if he's hurt?
Yes.
Like, don't do that. At least just take the out or whatever. Obviously, the pitcher, that's when everyone gets mad because it's like when one gets mad, the other one gets mad. It's kind of like a trickle down effect. But you can see here in the replay, Zavala's legs, both of his ankles could have been hurt, like bad,
Yes.
just as bad. So if I'm
we
him,
could have been talking about his injury
Exactly.
in this scenario, and it's a very different conversation.
and exactly, but at the same time, O'Neal Cruz did get caught in no man's land, like we're saying. But it's also because the throw was a little bit high. So I think he was about to start diving. And when you saw the catcher kind of like have to reach up, that's when he's like, well, now I don't know what to do. Like,
Right.
I can't run him over. I don't know if I should slide. Too late. Weird, awkward landing. Fracture ankle. He's going to be out, I expect, probably a few months. I haven't seen anything on the news as far as like the last, diagnosis when it comes to that, other than a fracture ankle. It didn't look great. And you can tell he was in a lot of pain.
And just unfortunate. Like, I mean, we're diagnosing this or, to kind of see, who's at fault. But really, it was just a baseball play. And it stinks because one of the rising stars, someone who's doing stuff we really haven't seen before as far as StatCast and metrics of that sort gets hurt. And Pittsburgh was off to a pretty good start. They're second place, obviously really early, small sample size, but just an absolute buzzkill.
And that's what I was gonna say too. It's kind of like the young star or one of the young stars from the Pirates who are 6-3, playing good baseball.
Yep.
It's gonna be it's gonna hurt them a little bit. Now, if the rule wasn't in place, let me ask you, if the rule wasn't in place where before you could just run over the catcher, if he was able to run over the catcher, we don't know if he would have done it, but maybe
Right.
the injury wouldn't have happened. I think the fact that the rule was in place is what caused the injury because he was kind of like, I can't run him over, but now I can't dive, and I think that's what caused the injury. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I didn't know you were going to say that. That's interesting because, they always say when you play scared, you play tentative. That's when you get hurt, right? You called it on the Nemo slide in spring training on second base. He was kind of going half speed, never really slides had half speed, and he kind of hurt himself a little bit there. I don't know. That rule seems so long ago.
Yeah.
I've forgotten almost, real home plate collisions. At one time, yes, that would have been a bang bang play that you just see if the catcher can hold on to the ball or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird. He was kind of tentative when he got to home plate. I mean, he was flying to home plate, and then just like you said, he said the ball's going up. What do I do? And he just kind of dropped down, and man, just stinks.
Yeah, it's again, baseball play. It kind of happens. You hate to see it because he's a young guy who we were all excited. He's good for baseball. He does things that we don't see a lot of people do. Pirates were playing good, so that was a good thing. So, but that was the bad news, right? We started kind of like your local news with the bad news.
Yeah, this was a bit of a downer to start, actually.
Yeah, so let's move over to some good news. And the Tampa Bay Rays started the season 9-0, and that's the best record in the history of the wild card era. So we're talking about since 1994, right? So I'm not good at math, but that's like about 30 years, almost 30 years. The record for the best start in baseball is 13-0 in 1987 by the Brewers. Before we get started, and I know this has been the kind of like the conversation in social media, right? I know we both know we're going to mention it, right? Yes, we have to look at the opponents, which is the A's, the Tigers, and Nats. Probably the three worst teams in baseball on paper before the season started. But they're still 9-0. And the way that they're beating the teams, it's like, everybody has lost a game, right? So, that all three teams, Tigers, A's, Nats, they've won games, just not against the Rays.
Not against the Rays, yep.
And we talked about this during our projection. Like,
Oh
Oh,
boy.
we're gonna pick the Rays under, and I cannot wait for them to go over. They're already almost over the 86 and a half or whatever the number was. But talk to me about the Rays. What's up with them?
So when we talked about the Rays, never have we been more wrong while also being right on the money.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the best worst prediction by us. We said we are going under on the over under, and they're going to go over most likely because that's what the Rays do. And I mean, they're dominating. Their win differential or their run differential is seven. They've outscored 75-18 over this stretch. And like you said, you go with the teams they've played. That's great. 9-0 is incredibly impressive because you can say against those teams, you should go 6-3 and you're happy. You beat up on the bad teams, right? You went 6-3, 7-2, whatever. They went 9-0. And they're doing it the way they probably thought they would do it in the offseason on paper. Things rarely work out, but they're starting pitching. Springs, Eflin dominating, Wander Franco. We talk about how they are this penny pinching franchise, what they are, but that's the guy that they spent money on. He's got a nearly $200 million contract, has been injured, comes out, and he's like, okay, I'm going to make it worth your while. And they're putting it all together very, very early, right? Yeah. But at the same time, 9 games is 9 games. Yep. That makes a difference towards the end of the year in a division that's probably going to be incredibly competitive. You already have a head start. You can struggle a little bit now, and you've got a head start. And who knows where they take this? Obviously the record I believe is 13. That's in play now.
Within reach. Within reach. And like you mentioned, they're already 3 games ahead of the Yankees. It's 3 games, right? But it's still early.
It matters.
But it's 3 games early, right? We talked about their 4 wins of tying the record. Their next series is going to be against Boston, which Boston, we talked about, it wasn't supposed to be the best team. They are 3rd in the league in scoring, so their offense is very good. They're behind the Rays, of course, and behind the Dodgers. Yep. Expected. The Rays not necessarily as much. It's a little bit of a surprise the amount of runs that they're putting up. Wander Franco is back and healthy and putting up MVP type numbers. But they're playing the Red Sox next. I think these are going to be fun games, but will they?
Does this feel like a big series already? It feels a little bit for you.
I mean, if you're the Red Sox, you don't want to be the team that it helps them get closer to the record,
right? Right.
But the Red Sox have been playing very good baseball on the offensive side of things, not as much on the pitching. So I expect 15, 14 games. I don't know, but will they break the record?
I'm going to say no. Yeah, I'm going to say no just because. But I mean, I'm again expecting at this point, I'm expecting the Rays to prove me wrong and go 162-0. But it's a good story. I like when the Rays are good, to be honest with you. I really, really do. It also, when you look at it just baseball wise, it shows that these small market teams, as we want to call them, can compete. I'm not saying it's easy because obviously everyone's trying to. But the Rays have some sort of formula there that seems to work all the time. And I'm excited. I mean, it just gives that AL East, we said it, probably the best division in baseball. You can argue a couple different ways, but it's not an outlandish claim to make. And this just adds a little more intrigue to an already intriguing division.
Yeah, and a couple points I wanted to make for them. I mentioned Wander Franco, kind of like MVP Rays, hitting 351 with 400 on base. He has 4 home runs already. 3, I think 2 or 3 stolen bases. So he's on his way for that 30-30 year. Randy Arozarena, he picked up right where he left off with Team Mexico. Yep. 11 RBIs already. Isaac Paredes played as well in the WBC. He's off to another good start as well. So WBC players, and we talked about this. This was better than spring training. A lot of the players that played in the WBC are playing great into the regular season. It's something that I love to see because I think eventually maybe like, you know what, let's just go play the WBC. So we'll be ready because we have somebody like Carlos Correa who's like 1 for 28. And,
Yeah. You're like, maybe some big leverage at bats for Puerto Rico would have gotten you game ready.
Maybe.
Obviously, that's all speculation. But at this point, it couldn't be any worse.
You never know. So good for the Rays. It's going to be a very interesting, again, 4-game series coming against the Red Sox. If they sweep the Red Sox, they're going to be right at 13. And it's
Yep.
going to be the Blue Jays is going to be after, which the Blue Jays have one of the best offenses as well. I mean, again, we talked about the AL East being the best division in baseball. They are proving it's right, too.
We love it though, right? Because we're already looking. We're saying this rotation looks dominant.
Yeah.
And it's so early in the season, but we're like, all right, let's see them against some offenses. You know,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
And
It's awesome.
that's exactly what we're about to see. Now, let's talk a little bit about some hot start. And we talk about hot starts as a team. We talk about the Rays,
Yep.
but let's focus on some players. What are some players that have kind of like caught your eye early in the season, the first we'll go 8-9 games.
Yeah, so I'll go with a couple of the under the radar guys, and we'll talk. You'll talk about some people as well. But initially, the two Chapman brothers, which are not actually brothers, but Aroldis Chapman, Matt Chapman. So Aroldis Chapman, I have found it very intriguing, and we talked about this. We said Kansas City kind of got a really good deal on that. Now, it may not make a difference for them, right? But when you look at other teams around the league, he got a $3 million contract. Bullpen guys every year are mix and match. You're just trying to find that lefty arm for your year, to get lefties out that year. Aroldis Chapman had some struggles last year. He left on bad terms, but we said it. He throws 100 miles an hour. He's probably been the best closer of his era when you talk about the years that he's played. And he's come out 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, throwing 103. Will he keep it up? I don't know, but it's not all that surprising, is it? No. I mean, I don't know that we thought he was completely washed up. Now, do I want him closing games in October if I'm a World Series contender? Nah, probably not. I mean, we'll see how the year goes. Right now, maybe, but probably not. But I think that was, what do you think of it? Looking back on it, is it too early to say another team probably should have given them a chance to boost up their bullpen?
I don't think it's too early, and we talked about this because lefty arms, they're hard to come by. And lefty arms that throw 100, we talked about this in our projection videos, how it's still Chapman. He kind of lost it in New York. We talked about, hey, maybe a change of scenery is going to help him. Yep. But he's throwing 103, 104. And that's what you've known Chapman for. Yeah, he could get a little wild, but I mean, he hasn't allowed a run yet, so he's looking like the old Chapman or Chapman of old, or however you say it.
Yeah, he's looking like Chapman. He's looking like Chapman. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to watch, because if he has a really good year, there's going to be 2 things that happen. One, where a lot of teams are going to be, looking at their scouting department, whatever, and saying, you told us not to pay him $3 million.
Somebody's getting
You're
fired.
Crazy. Yeah. And then the other thing will be trading block, right? I mean, the Royals don't really have any aspirations this year. And if he's really lighting it up down the stretch, it'll be interesting to see if he goes somewhere. Now, as far as his brother, Matt Chapman, in Toronto, I don't want to forget him. He's crushing it. So he's hitting 457. He's got 16 hits and 7 doubles. So the home runs are not really there yet, but the doubles are. So he's hitting the ball hard. I looked at his numbers from last year as well. He still hit 27 home runs. He had 70-something RBIs. The average was down. And it's one of those things, man, if he could just pick the average up a little bit and you add him, when I look at this, great for him, right? Matt Chapman, obviously. He's been so down and struggling. He was kind of one of the young, really good third basemen, so you're happy for him. But if you look at the Blue Jays, if they add what Matt Chapman was supposed to be a few years ago with Bo Bichette, Vladdy, all these guys that they have, you start looking at something they almost don't even need. Right, this is just like a blessing for them. That's something I'm impressed with him starting off, and I want to see how it goes, because that can change the entire dynamic, I think, of that division and World Series hopefuls and that whole thing. If he can go out, hit 280, do the same power numbers, 27 homers, all that. Even if he hits 270, 260, whatever, he just needs to kind of find a way to get on base more, be more consistent, and I'd like to see it.
I mean, the Matt Chapman obviously off to a great start. Same with Vladdy, same with Bo Bichette. That 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 for Toronto has been unreal. That's why they've been able to go back and forth in a game against the Angels earlier today. The first weekend against St. Louis, one of the best games, like literally opening day. They're gonna be able to score with the best of them. And it's because of that. Like, they got a lot of good players. And I think that's the reason we talked about this again in the projection videos, where they didn't need Teoscar Hernandez, and that's why they kind of traded him. They were able to kind of like, we'll take this bat, we'll take a bullpen help. Obviously, they did not expect this from Matt Chapman, but Matt Chapman is 29 years old. He was brought in. He was known as a defensive wizard, right there with Arenado. Whatever you get from his offense is just an extra, right? Like a bonus. And what he's giving you so far in the first week and a half has been unreal. And that's a lot more probably
scary
than what they thought. Of course.
Yeah.
That lineup is top to bottom is unreal. He's third in the league right now. Again, small sample size, 1 week, 1.5 week, but he's third in the league in OPS. So, he's hitting the ball hard. He's high average. Yes. Like he's locked in.
Yeah, and he's got to cut the strikeouts down a little bit, which it seems like he has been. He's trying to be a little bit more disciplined. The Blue Jays, I'm reevaluating a little bit. We were high on the Blue Jays,
but their offense scary, man. Their offense just feels better than what we even thought, and we knew it was going to be good. It just felt, but I don't know.
Bo Bichette keeps getting better too. I mean, we know he's good, but he's this power hitting guy that you look at him and he put up the numbers. Yeah. But he's got such a pure swing. I mean,
I didn't think he was going to be this good this soon. With Bo Bichette. It was supposed to be Vladdy, which he has been. He finished second in the MVP race a couple of years back. He had a down year last year where he hit like 280 with 35 home runs. Like, he's back to the other Vladdy. He's gonna hit 330 with 40 bombs. Like, it's crazy how good he is.
They're almost on even footing at this point because they are a little bit different style players, and so they kind of balance themselves out. Give me someone you're surprised with before I go back to talking about my list. Or not surprised with, but just a hot start.
No, I think I'll go with hot and surprise. And as a Red Sox fan, I have to take the OPS leader in MLB's Adam Duvall. Adam Duvall has been smashing baseballs, which, before I go into the numbers with him, and I'm not the best numbers guy, but I don't know if you watched that game against the Orioles where they were down to the last out. Felix Bautista was closing the game. Lazy fly ball, I think it was Yoshida, to left field. The left fielder for the Orioles dropped a routine fly ball, and then it was Adam Duvall, and I was like, we are about to walk this off, and it's going to be electric. And Adam Duvall came through. And it was like,
did you already have the confidence in him?
I swear. Yes.
You're on board.
I'm like, he's
going to have one of those years.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up for the entire year. He did have a little bit of an injury today, diving in center field. He kind of like his wrist, one of those where your glove gets caught up and you, I don't know. We'll see how serious it is, but it can affect it. But he's just seeing beach balls right now. So you just got to ride it, right? Like, I don't know how long he's going to last. He's never done it for a full season like this. I think his career high was like 37 home runs, which he's definitely capable of doing that. But he's playing out of his mind. He was, the player of the week for the first week for the AL for a reason, Right now, over 1,500 OPS, over 450 batting average. He already has 4 home runs, like 14 RBIs, and he's a big part of the reason why the Red Sox are third in scoring, right? He's right there. We got Devers is off to another hot start there, but that's what you expect. This is the guy that you didn't really expected him to be like, oh my God, he's going to be in the middle of the lineup as well, helping us out.
Well, and if you're a Red Sox fan, which I am to be, I got you. This is the opposite of like talking about something like the Blue Jays with Chapman, where you're like, you don't even need the offense. If you're the Red Sox and you want to do something this year, you need a surprise. Yeah. You need someone like Duvall to come out and have a career year. And he's been a good major league player. I mean, he had some very good times with the Braves, especially as well. But you need, and that's why it's kind of so intriguing. You're like, is this guy going to step up and be one of those hidden gems throughout the year? And I think that's why we're kind of pointing some of these guys out, because some of these names might be a big part of team success at the end of the year. So it's nice to catch, and some of them may fade into bench players, but it's nice to mention them at first, because I assume some of these people are going to have years better than we're expected. And I mean, right now,
you have. I was going to say, you have players that have career years, right? You just don't know when they're coming. Like Matt
Yes.
Chapman is at 29 years old. Maybe this is his career year. We just had Drury, who had a big contract coming off his first good year. Career year, give you a contract as well. And I think like we see it a lot, right? Like we see a lot like this is a free agent year, and all of a sudden they're just playing out of their mind, right? So very interesting. Yeah, you need everyone, especially in the AL East for Boston. You need everyone. But that is my kind of like my surprise pick. Usual suspects, though, I want to say how, I think growing up, I was more of like, and I think we've all had kind of like that hate. Like, oh, I don't care about that guy. Yeah, I'm a fan of this. I'm a fan of A. I don't care about B. And as I've gotten older, which I am, I've come to appreciate greatness. And what we have in baseball, in Mike Trout and Aaron Judge, like we just need to enjoy it while we have it. They're off to another terrific start. Mike Trout, over 500, I think 524 on base right now. He has already 3 home runs. Like, he's just unreal. 10 walks to 8 strikeouts. Aaron Judge just went deep twice again today. 360 average. Like, they could be, well, we know Mike Trout for sure. Aaron Judge is well on his way to being an all-time great. Like, these are all-time talent, all-time greats. Like, let's just enjoy them. Like, let's just watch. I hate the fact that Aaron Judge is a Yankee.
It's happening. It's happening right now, though, right?
Yes.
Like, it's happening right now. Like, do you wish you could have gone back and watched a lot of these records get broken and a lot of these, just great names? Mickey Mantle, way back when we had no chance. Well, we have a chance now. Like, we're seeing it, right? And it's killing your Red Sox, but you're seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, Judge killed the Orioles today. Poor Orioles. They
No,
me back. But
in general.
No, but yes, it's one of those things. It's like sometimes I'm like, I don't even care as much. I'm more of and I've always said this, I'm more of a baseball fan than a Red Sox fan. I love the Red Sox. I'm always going to root for them. But I want baseball to win more than I want the Red Sox to win, if that makes sense. At times, I do want the Red Sox to win.
Yes.
But it's something like when I see these guys like, I just saw Shohei Ohtani hit a, 95-mile-an-hour fastball low and in, and he somehow hit it over 400 feet to left center field. I'm like, that's not even normal. So, like, enjoy all those moments, Like, Trout, back-to-back days with massive home runs, like 450s trying to break a windshield in that truck in left center field.
Yeah, he hates that truck.
I mean, but he can actually aim for it and almost hit it. Like, that's how good he is.
And there's storylines with both of those guys too, right? Because last year, Judge bet on himself, got the contract. And I know, at least me personally, I thought,
risky.
They are going to end up having to pay him whatever he wants, which they kind of did. Yeah. And you're probably not going to get the same Aaron Judge. But maybe they will. You never know. Like, he's coming off, and just picking up right where he left off. Mike Trout, there were concerns also about his injury. He has an injury now that they've said he's going to have to technically deal with for the rest of his career. And that was kind of a moment where we were like, wow, this is one of the greatest players, of the generation. Yeah. And now he's got something he's got to deal with. He comes out and he's just same old Mike Trout, maybe even better. So it is awesome. It is absolutely awesome. Now, if I could say one thing, because you led me right to it, and I don't want to take this hot starts list too long, but a lot of these contract year guys, and this guy's not in it, but it's kind of a contract situation. Brian Reynolds with Pittsburgh they couldn't come to an agreement. He's not a free agent at the end of this year, but they couldn't come to an agreement. He said he wanted to be traded. He said he would like a long-term deal. Now he's just kind of out there playing. He's hitting 424. He's got 5 home runs. Is he going to be one of those guys now, the same thing, that has a career year and you're saying, boy, you really should have signed this guy to kind of keep, because the Pirates are close to being able to say they got a young nucleus with, O'Neill. He got hurt, obviously, but they're close if they can lock a couple guys up. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with him.
I mean, and I think, I did pick the over on the Pirates. I was high on them as far as like, I like what they did, right? They brought a couple veteran guys in McCutchen and Carlos Santana who are off to decent starts. McCutchen went deep with the Pirates. He just looks like he belongs there anyways. Yeah. Brian Reynolds, I said it on the previous episode where I think they ended up offering him a 6-year, $75 million deal. And he's worth 150, 200 million dollars. He is that good, especially when we talked about how weak of a center field position is. There's not a lot of great center fielders, and Brian Reynolds is one of them. And you have to pay them, but the Pirates are just not going to pay him. It's only a matter of time, especially if he keeps this up, where he's just going to go to one of the big market teams or one of the teams that are willing to pay, because it just doesn't seem like the Pirates want to pay.
Now, can I defend the Pirates a little bit?
Try.
I'm going to. So I was looking into it, and I believe he's a free agent in 2025.
I'll double check.
Can we look that up?
Yeah.
Okay. He wanted an opt-out in his contract for 2026, was apparently the sticking point. And he was willing to defer a lot of the salary to the back end, but the Pirates, in their mind, I didn't talk to them, Yeyo, unfortunately. But what I read was basically they're only paying, they're paying him, they'd be paying him for 3 years, and only one of those years is out of free agency, and it didn't really make sense to them. And I do kind of get that, I do. I think if he was willing to kind of have a later opt-out or get rid of that, I think they would have locked him up. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but that opt-out does put them in a tough situation because he's only been in the league a couple years. I think it's 4 years now. And he's 28, so he didn't come in that young. He started when he was 24.
Yeah. So, his first year was in 19 when he was 24. His contract is up this year, but he's going to be obviously with arbitration eligible. Yep. Free agent in 2026. And,
okay.
He's 28. He's trying to sign a contract that he doesn't have to worry about that, right? Like by the time 2026 comes in, he's going to be 31, 32. Then he's kind of like past his prime. But if you sign him instead of a 6 year 75, you sign him for 6 for 120, you're still getting him in the prime years. You could have made a little bit of a better offer, right? You made a little bit of an Acuna, Ozzy Albies deal in the Braves thing, but
that's not flying. Only the Braves can do that.
Yes. So, it's like you have an all-star center fielder, and if you want to be able to build around somebody, that's the guy you want to build around. And you have a new Cruz. He's going to be there for a while. And maybe signing these players is going to want to make other players want to come in and join forces in what it seems to be kind of like a weak NL Central, very competitive NL Central.
Yeah, go and get it, right? Yeah. Like in a way, you do attract free agents by saying, hey, you're going to be playing with these guys for the next 5-6 years. And, I think that matters. Pirates have a good fan base. People say the stadium. I've never been. But I remember when we were in Citi Field, these people next to us talked to us for 9 innings about how it was the most beautiful stadium
literally
in baseball. I mean, you could tell it is. But, yeah, one of those things to keep an eye on.
Yeah, the postseason they had, like 6 years ago where it was a blackout.
Amazing.
Electric. And it just sucks. It just sucks for them. I don't know. I think that's somebody that you want to keep, but unfortunately, he's not happy. He's gonna want to be traded. He knows his value, and when players knows their value, he's gonna go into arbitration in a couple of years. He may get $15 million a year then or whatever, but he wants that kind of like long term, be safe.
Yeah, just set me for life. And again, it's not a contract year for him, but it does feel like he's betting on himself a little bit. Right? Because he told him, I want this opt-out, or I'm just going to play out my contract the way it is now. And it's looking like it might pay off for him as well. Long ways to go, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think that's good. You got anything else for hot starts? We haven't talked about pitching, but at the same time, it's kind of like, starters have only had 1 or 2 starts. Sandy's still Sandy. Dustin May throws a frisbee. You got Pablo Lopez looking great in Minnesota. But, it's a lot smaller sample size when it comes to pitching. So
it is. And guys are still on pitch counts and all that. You almost feel like you don't have the real picture on the pitching yet. So no, I'm good with that. Let's talk about Rendon. Rendon got into it with a fan. I know you have the video. It went a little bit viral in the moment. Rendon looked very upset. He looked very upset. And there's a couple things. Yeah, so can we use profanity on here? Because I could tell you exactly what he said. He's saying,
go for it.
You called me a bitch. You called me a bitch. And the guy's saying, no, I didn't. And he said, yeah, you did. And notice the reflexes on this guy. He knows what's coming. He knows what's coming. That guy's been in a fight before. He has been in a fight before.
So a couple things. So first off, you see another fan kind of pushing him towards Rendon. Number
Worst
one,
kind of friend.
I don't know if he's a friend or just somebody that was there annoyed by this. Maybe a drunk fan that was just running his mouth the entire game. You see the Angels players around as well. You see Mike Trout, Ohtani coming up. It's like, yeah, that's that. Go for it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no one
was trying to stop him.
Everyone was like, "What are you doing?" But I got your back, buddy.
Yes.
I mean, go for it.
And I think like when you see Rendon holding this guy's shirt or top or whatever, the guy's trying to push back. So I don't know if it's the reflex, but he was just pushing back. So I'll go with that. But Rendon, he's known for a lot of swing and misses. So, that's just another. That's just
that was a.
Thank you. I saw it somewhere on Twitter. Sorry, whoever did it, but it was great because, now this did cost Rendon, and he has a lot of money, and he hasn't played up to that money. I'm sorry, Rendon. I'm very upset at you. I drafted you in fantasy.
Rendon.
I drafted Rendon in fantasy. We talk about like the Angels will be as good as Rendon is because we know what they got in Ohtani and they got in Trout. But Rendon is like, okay, you're healthy, and now you're suspended. He got 5-game suspension because of this incident. And, I think we started seeing a lot more of this, especially in the NBA when fans are a little bit closer to the court. But players kind of like, it's a new generation, right? They've had it. They're like, dude, just because you pay, I'm not gonna let you like just run your mouth. And good for him. Good for him. Some fans are annoying.
I love how the guy blocked it or dodged it. Can we watch it one more time?
Yeah,
just one more time.
See,
because that clip embarrasses that guy for the rest of his life if he got hit in the face.
Yeah.
But because he did not, it's just a funny story. So good for him, unless
I think he was just
unless he was cursing at him.
I think he was just trying to like grab his hat or something.
No, that
you think
guy
it was a slap?
Has reflexes.
Oh my god!
Oh, he was trying to slap him. Let me see.
Bro, I don't know.
That's a slap.
Maybe he was trying to slap that. I don't know. It was weird.
Maybe,
but
maybe he was trying to high five him. Like, hey, happy we had this talk. High five.
Good luck with it.
Good misunderstanding.
Good luck to your A's, buddy. Poop. Enjoy your season tickets. I don't know. Was it 5
You're
game?
right though.
I was going to ask you.
It was 5. I believe it got dropped down to 4.
Maybe
I can't say that with any certainty. But yeah, Rendon. I mean, this is kind of a non-issue. I think nothing really happened. They said that they talked after the game. I'm sure he had to, whatever. But he kind of needs to figure it out this year. You're happy he's healthy. Obviously, you missed this amount of time and you go through injuries. Can you come back and be the same player? Maybe not. But he is getting paid a lot of money, and you can dump on the Angels all you want, but they've got some superstars, and he was a superstar, and you need him to do something this year because, like we've said, we want to see the Angels make a run, right? We really, really do. We want to see Trout, Ohtani in the play. I mean, we got a taste of both of those guys in big atmospheres just in the WBC, and I think we want a little bit more of it. So we'll see what happens. He's a big part. I think we obviously showed that, but it's kind of to mention that he's a big part of how they go this year.
So I wanted to show here this is the other angle.
I didn't know you had this angle. It's gonna make my boy look bad.
I just found it, but you'll be able to see this is from John Boy. And you see the fan here. You're going to be able to see how the other fan is going to push him there. You see Rendon is going to start talking kind of like while he's on his way there. So it's a little bit more of a wider. See, you see him right there saying something. You could definitely see the fan, and Rendon was like, come here. And the other fan, it was like, okay, here he goes. I'll push him to your way. Watch. Look at that. It was an older guy, too. It was an older guy. I love it. It seemed like kind of like a Ron Artest Meta World Peace situation back in the Malice at the Palace, where he knew exactly who said what, and you see it in this video where he was like, boom, I caught you kind of like a corner of my eye. The last word, I knew it was you. Come here, say it to my face. And he didn't seem like he wanted to say it to his face. And the other guy said, go say it to his face.
The other guy was ready to hit that fan into the authorities. Look, he knew exactly
right.
Who it was. Oh, and the other guy's looking at him too, like this guy.
And it was right after the high five. They gave him a high five celebrating the A's win, which We didn't think there were going to be
They-
many
they-
A's wins this year, but
we may talk about some bad predictions. I think we nailed the Oakland A's predictions.
they're off. They're making
going
us
under.
look smart, and they
Yeah,
did.
they're
They did.
going under.
They did face the the Rays. So I don't know. That's another angle on the clip, which I thought it was great. I don't know. He got suspended. Hopefully, he comes back now. I think part of that frustration might be because of how bad he's been playing, even though it was just 2 or 3 games. But he needs to figure out the Angels are playing good baseball, and they're gonna need Rendon. They're gonna need Rendon. They're in first place right now, but I don't know. Houston started very slow, and they'll be fine. So I don't know.
Yeah, we talk as much as we want about these hot starts and slow starts because they all do matter, but we know that really that first month and a half to 2 months of the season, that's when you then start to see it. But again, this stuff does matter. Teams lose divisions by 1 game. Teams miss out on the playoffs and all that sort of stuff by 1 game, and injuries that occur at this point in the season. So, like we said at the beginning, there's a lot of significant stuff that happened. But we're just getting a little bit of a taste of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think that's basically it for our episode 13 opening week. Finally, we had an episode from, like, we talk about the projections and we talk about the WBC and all that. We finally have real baseball. Let's walk it off, John. Anything you're looking forward to?
More baseball.
More baseball.
More baseball. More games every day. I love it. And like you said, I mean, I am a diehard Mets fan. And I follow, if you ask me what I follow most during the year, it is the Mets. But I love good baseball that it feels like we're getting a lot of. There's a good pitching matchup on the West Coast. I'm going to watch it. Like I said, I watch every Sandy Alcantara game. Why? I'm not a Marlins fan, but I love watching the guy who may be the best pitcher in the game, and I really like his style. So there's so many of those things going on right now, and they start to develop. Like you said, the Angels are playing really well right now.
Yeah.
I would love to see them keep going. So I want to see what the storylines start to develop and keep seeing some good baseball. What about you?
I got a couple series that I'm gonna be looking forward to. We already mentioned the Rays and Red Sox.
Yep.
Maybe the Rays will never lose, but we'll see. If they lose, it might be against the Red Sox. We got Yankees Guardians rematch of last year's electric, postseason matchup, and they're rocking the baby with Josh Naylor. So that's gonna be fun. I'm not sure if Garrett Cole does pitch on Tuesday. So it's gonna be in Cleveland.
Naylor's getting hit. I'll say it, right?
It may happen. It may happen.
He was over the top.
Yes, he was.
Year.
But then
I'm all for fun baseball, but he was.
But the Yankees got the last laugh. Gleyber did the rocking the baby in the last out. So I think that's where it ended. I think it was kind of like all fun and games. I don't think it was anything too personal. I think Garrett Cole is too much. I don't know. Well, I don't know if he has what you need to hit the guy, but we'll see. We got Padres and Mets. That's going to be an interesting series as well. Yep. Twins, White Sox, and then surprising team, Arizona, beating the Dodgers. They won the series against the Dodgers. They're 6-4. They're going to be playing Milwaukee, which is 7-2. So we'll see. D-backs are a very fun team to watch. Corbin Carroll is must-watch TV. They got a lot of speed in the office. So just a lot of good young baseball there. A lot of good baseball expected this week. We'll see. We may have a during the week episode, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Turn that notification bell. That way you know when we upload. Spotify, Apple, make sure to follow, rate it, all that good stuff. Check us out on Twitter and all that good stuff. You have it right here on your screen. But that will do it for episode 13, and we will check you out on the next one.
Adios.